Hi guys, welcome back for another movie review. And by the way, yeah, we're back, and now I'm gonna talk and review one of my personal favorite action films of all time. And of course, they hit 25th anniversary, and that's of course, which I'm gonna say, Broken Arrow. Yes, this is the poster art, which I love this poster to death. I mean, I last year my friend bought it for me. Of course, I paid him back, but I got it in the frame. And yeah, this is one of my personal favorite action films of all time. And this Tuesday, February 9, they hit 25 anniversary. They did this movie 1995, but they actually was released in 1996 in February 9 because the special effects were not completed. But I'm proud to show this poster art because I love this poster art. Prepare to Go Ballistic. I know it's missing there, but I love John Travolta, Christian Slater. He's actually my favorite hero of all time. I love this movie to death. There's gonna be a 30-year anniversary of Terminator 2 Judgment Day. I would rather talk about this film. This is my movie, my personal favorite movie, my favorite action movie of all time, with Rambo, First of all, Part 2, this movie behind me, Die Hard, GoldenEye, movie up there, and of course, Die Hard The Vengeance, Hard Boiled, which I'll review next. But I want to review this film, Broken Arrow. I did review this movie last year on my old account, and I tried to make it shorter so that the review is on my channel. I saved that video, so it's 40 minutes long. But this time I'm gonna talk for an hour. Yeah, it's gonna be a 25 review, because someone has to do it, because this is actually my favorite John Woo film. Yes, my favorite John Woo film of all time, my personal favorite action films ever, my favorite Christian Slater movie he ever did. Huge fan of Christian Slater. I love him in Hard Rain. I love him in Cuffs. I love him in Hard Cash. In God We Trust. I love him in Hatters. I love Christian Slater, his best performance. I love John Travolta to death. And this is my favorite movie that John Woo did, my personal favorite John Woo film. And I also do have the Blu-ray of Broken Arrow, which I watched it last night. I watched it. I just love this movie so much. I mean, this is my movie. It's my favorite action movie of all time. Came out February 9, 1996. And I just love Broken Arrow to death. I mean, fuck yeah. I have to talk about this film. Why it's so special to me. I mean, it's one of my favorite 90s action movies of all time. I probably will put Broken Arrow above GoldenEye, my opinion. But because it was really, I mean, it's really the most underrated John Woo movie ever. I mean, why is this movie underrated? I'm gonna explain why to me it's underrated. It's underrated because the original cut, it was actually over 2 hours long. The original cut for Broken Arrow was actually around 2 hours long. But because the interference of the studio and MPA ratings, the scenes had to be recutted, re-edited and recutted. This movie was even more suffered from problems by interfering studio than Hard Target, because the original cut that John Woo did was actually more character development and more violence during action sequence. And I would really love to see the work print version, or at least director's cut of the John Woo, because John Woo is one of my personal favorite directors of all time. I love the guy. He gave us such a great action films, and I really love the guy. I mean, I love this movie Broken Arrow. I love Hard Boiled. I love The Killer. Paycheck, which is underrated, his last movie. I love Better Tomorrow 2. Heroes Tears No Shits, which I love that film. The original Better Tomorrow, I still enjoy. I still like Better Tomorrow, I know they were Hard Target and Face Off, no offense, I don't like them. I mean, Hard Target is overrated. Yeah, now everyone wants to talk about Hard Target, And when I read it was, first off, Jean-Claude Van Damme completely fucked up everything, like the original cut, there was a love scene. I wish there wouldn't be between Van Damme and Ned, but I hated it. I hated the romance between those couple. I hated it. And of course, John Woo, he tried to do a good movie, but Van Damme, in Tough, he never complained. Van Damme, all wanted was showing off his fucking muscles. Even Tough, yeah, John Woo complied, but he didn't show the scenes. So there was only one scene. And Van Damme, he stole the movie and then he re-edited it because he wanted that's actually based on Van Damme's movie. It's not Lance Henriksen. And that's one of the reasons why Shadow of the Dead never came out. Because of their hard relationship. Because Van Damme was on cocaine and he was drug addicted, and because of his fucking ego, he lost another compilation with another collaboration with John Woo. He missed the opportunity. He fucked up. Yeah, so that's one of the reasons why they never did the second movie. Why I mention that is because John Travolta and of course Christian Slater and Nicolas Cage, they collaborated twice with John Woo. Van Damme didn't. He lost his chance. The other thing was Chow Yun-fat, which I reviewed, The Killer. He also collaborated 5 times with John Woo. So I'll say John Woo is talented director. He's awesome director. He's one of the greatest action directors ever. As a kid, I watched Face Off, and now Face Off isn't really my favorite John Woo film. It's not my favorite film. The action sequences, the characters, that doesn't do nothing to me. Like John Travolta is a good guy, but then bad guy, like the roles are reversed. It's nothing for me. That's why I prefer these two guys. My favorite action movie of all time, because it has tons of explosion, tons of action. The budget for making this movie cost them $50 million. And I counted at least 4 helicopters being crashed, a bomb stealer being crashed. The fight sequences, the action sequences, no CGI, no fucking shaky cam. There weren't any shaky cam that time, the action sequences were done for real. No stunt doubles, Christian Slater didn't do he did his own stunts. I didn't saw stunt doubles. There was only one scene on the mine shaft when he jumped. That was a stunt double, but the rest of the stunts Christian Slater did himself. He quit smoking for this movie. He also declined the opportunity to work in Assassins with Stallone and decided to work with John Woo. I'm glad he did. John Woo found out that Samantha Matthews and Christian Slater, they fit together. They both worked on Pump Up the Volume. 5 years earlier they worked on that film. And Samantha Matthews, she was actually ex-girlfriend of Christian Slater, and I think they kissed, but she said it's like kissing him was like kissing his older brother. So there wasn't any scene in which Samantha and Hale, they are kissing, which is great that it was cut, But yeah, I mean, John Woo and Graham Yost, they did great job. Graham Yost wrote the screenplay. Director has been John Woo, and after Hard Target, which he worked for Universal Pictures, he got offered to do with 20th Century Fox to do this movie, Broken Arrow. And at first, John Travolta really retained a close friendship with John Woo. And at first, he was asked and offered a role of the good guy, Riley Hale. But when John Travolta read the screenplay, he enjoyed Vic Dickens, the character. He enjoyed the character. He wanted to do that film, And he was offered to play the good guy, bad guy. He chose the bad guy, Dick Vickens, and he was great. I mean, Buzz cut hair, and he enjoyed the character, He loved he had fun, And rest in peace, Kelly Preston, the wife of John Travolta. They worked a few movies together. They were married, and this movie was actually filmed was actually filmed from 26 April 1995, until 1928 August was actually filmed released. And because it wasn't, the special effects did not complete the film till December, they missed the mark, so it was released in February 9, 1996. But that time, John Travolta was still married with Kelly Preston, and mostly I remember Kelly Preston was actually in that film Jack Frost with Michael Keaton. I mostly remember her in that film, and she was still alive that time, and he was like 5 years married until her death. She passed away last year. I think it was really sad. I also read that by John Travolta's son died back in 2008, 2009, but he decided to play that remake anyway. The taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3, I think was that movie. And by the way, Broken Arrow is not a remake or reboot of the Western film from 1950. It's not. It's a stand-up alone. It's kind of feels like the movie kind of feels like it's an action film. In the Die Hard, it's more kind of Die Hard clone, because there's a Die Hard scene in the canyon, the Utah Canyon. I know it's a stand-up alone. It's not a Die Hard. It's not this film, because they don't use a facility or a building. But it's still a pure badass action film. And by the way, this is actually an action war film. Broken Arrow is an action war film, because it's actually military involved, because Christian Slater, John Travolta, they play U.S. pilots from the U.S. Air Force, so it's actually a action war film. And the other thing is, they had military as technical advisors on this film, so they did it right, because the military demanded, that John Travolta takes off the uniform off because he became traitor. They demanded that he takes the uniform off. That's why we see John Travolta in a civil costume, in civil costumes, And the action sequence, I counted like four explosions from the train, which I'll go to plot, and I'll go and talk about the explosions, the tons of action. This movie has tons of action, and I think it's the most underrated movie of all time. And yeah, it's my favorite John Woo film. My second favorite is Hard Boiled. Third, The Killer. 4 will be Paycheck. I already reviewed that film. It's on my channel from last year. And The Killer I just reviewed yesterday. But now I want to talk about Broken Arrow, which I really wrote along notes so that I won't forget. Like filming location was the Glen Canyon National Recreational Area in the Utah. Which is mostly the action was set in Utah, but they filmed in different locations. It was not filmed in studios. It was filmed on different locations, in different filming locations, which is cool. And by the way, I do have a girlfriend, she's just a close friend to me from Utah, but she never visited Glen Canyon National. She never was there, but I think that actually is a park there, which it is, so yeah, it is a park there. So yeah, so that's cool. But I love the canyon, the sequences, and also Broken Arrow is actually a military code, which means, I'm not sure if I say it correctly, because it's kind of different in military means, but in this movie it means that they lost a weapon, an important weapon they lost, And the movie also, it's actually, I love the movie that is a hunt for those two nukes, two nuclear weapons. This nuclear weapon, two nuclear missiles, two nuclear missiles are been stolen by terrorists, and there's two military pilots who go race against time to for the hunt for those two missiles, for those two nuclear weapon missiles, And that's how the movie starts, before I go into the movie, but I'm just gonna read it. Two military pilots, John Travolta, Christian Slater, engage, Cole Barrett, no holds barred battle against time and each other in a race to recover two stolen nuclear warheads. When a B-3 stealth bomber crashes in the Utah desert during a top secret test run, the military quickly moves into retrieve its two broken arrows, but the situation spins really out of control after one of the pilots reveals the crash to be part of incredible nuclear extortion plot. And I love this movie to death. Love this movie to death. I love so to death this movie. This is my personal movie of all time. I love this movie incredible to death. I mean, it's a pure badass action film. John Woo, you know, he cast Samantha Mathis because she was not a scary girl. She didn't need protection. She did all her own stunts. Harvey Long did her own stunts. John Travolta did his own stunts. Christian Slater did his own stunts. You know, this is my movie, my personal movie of all time. Why I love this movie so much. I mean, pure badass action film of all time. I mean, I love this. I love Broken Arrow to death, you know. I always love I love this movie. This is my movie, you know. They hit 25th anniversary, you know. That's one of the reasons why I'm reviewing again this film, because it deserves someone talk about. Broken Arrow is a classic action film, in my opinion. Underrated, you know. It's underrated, you know. My friend goes more for The Killer. I go for Broken Arrow, you know, for John Woo. John Woo is my favorite director of all time. You know, top 5 John Woo movies, definitely I just mentioned Broken Arrow. You know, this will be my number 1 favorite movie he did. Number 2, Hard Boiled. Number 3, The Killer. Number 4, Paycheck, underrated film. Another underrated film. And number 5, A Better Tomorrow Part 2, the sequel, because I enjoy, you know. That's my top 5 films, but Broken Arrow, his best action film, you know. I would say better than Face Off or Hard Target. Definitely much better. Miles better than fucking Hard Target, you know. Face Off on its way is a good movie to me. It's a terrible movie. It's just not cup of tea, you know. I would rather watch Broken Arrow. I love this movie so much. And yeah, the Stealth Fighter, you know, a model B-2 Spirit Bomber was kind of realistic. It was realistic a lot. And yeah, the film locations, I also wrote them down, not all of them, but the other ones were like Daytona, Montana, California, Marble Canyon, Arizona. They also filmed in Arizona mostly. And yeah, like I said, just like John Woo's first movie, you know, Hard Target, this film suffered from problems with records, you know, forced by studio interference and ratings problems caused by MPA. You know, studio interference on this movie was even bigger than the one on Hard Target. You know, that's one of the reasons why this movie gets so underrated, because the studio, because of the MPA ratings, they butchered this movie. You know, they raped this movie. You know, that's one of the reasons why it wasn't that much like you expected in John Woo's movies. You know, the two gun barrels, the Mexican standoff. You know, that's one of the reasons. I forgot to mention, but Hans Zimmer's music score was fantastic. It was so beautiful. Later they used for this movie Scream 2, you know, Du Stemme for Scream 2, they used for this movie, you know, Scream 2, you know, they used for this movie Scream 2 Dewey's music, which is part of the Hans Zimmer score. But actually the most best beautiful music score from I think was Kevin Dunn, the guitarist, I'm not sure, but so beautiful music score. I mean, this was just a pure badass action film, you know, more a military action film. Honestly, as a kid, I watched more Con Air and of course Face Off because of Nicolas Cage. But now I kind of prefer this movie over Con Air. I think this movie is better than Con Air, in my opinion. It's better action, better leads, you know, better cast, better action sequences, you know, in my opinion. And yeah, and but yeah, like the cast. So before I start talking about, you know, Graham Yost, he wrote the screenplay directed by John Woo, my favorite director, and of course the action sequences. You already know it's an action war movie. Before I start talking more, the cast, we have John Travolta, Christian Slater, Samantha Matthews, Delroy Lindo, Bob Canton, Frank Wiley, Harvey Long, Wandy Curtis Hall, Vito Ruggins, Sean Taub, Jeffrey Stipiten, and Kurtwood Smith. And yeah, the cast to expand, and like I said, the fights, the fights is actually for two for for the two nuclear the hunt is actually for the two stolen nuclear warheads. So the plot talks about these two guys, two pilots, two US military pilots from the United States Air Force. They are carrying two nukes, two nuclear warheads. They are carrying two nuclear warheads on the B-3 stealth bomber. And one of the pilots, one of those two pilots, it actually reveals that he wants to steal the two nuclear warheads. And Dickens, played by John Travolta, he reveals to be a traitor, and he wants to steal those two nuclear warheads, and he wants to kill his co-pilot Hale, captain of the United States Air Force. He wants to shoot him with Beretta, in the head during their flights in the cockpit. But during the fight sequence, of course, when both the pilots fight each other, Dickens, he goes and he blows Hale out of the cockpit. He throws him out of the cockpit, and he crashes the stealth bomber. He goes and crashes. He goes and crashes the stealth fighter, and who goes and crashes the stealth fighter. By the way, that was a model. The stealth fighter that you saw in the movie was actually a model B-2 Spirit bomber. The stealth fighter, but stealth bomber, B-3 was actually B-2. But the model, for the stealth fighter, gets crashed, and during his transmission, Dickens says that Hale lost his. That he lost his control over the plane, and the core plane explodes. They actually went and they spent $50 million for making such a practical effects, real effects, real effects, the explosions, it was the worldwide. They made only $150 million, but the budget, they spent $50 million to make such a movie, with explosions, with guns, ships, with explosions, And of course, so now Dickens, it turns out that he's the pilot. He's a trader. He's actually a trader, and he's a trader, and he stole two nuclear warheads. He stole two nuclear warheads, and because Colonel Max Wilkins, he found out that. They lost the nuclear weapons, so they call the soldiers to recover those two nuclear weapons. And when they showed up, they found the stealth bomber exploded. It looks like at first an accident. They found those two bombs. That plane explodes, but the nuclear warheads are missing. So now they have a broken arrow. That means they lost an important device. So now the soldiers. They try to find the missiles, but they fall into ambush because a few huge mercenaries, shows up. And at first they kill those two campers, they go and kill those two campers. Then they go and they shoot all the soldiers, except two soldiers, and that was Lieutenant Colonel Sam Rhodes, played by Wendy Curtis Hall, and of course Harvey Long. And Harvey Long plays Kelly, a rogue soldier who tells her that that's actually he's behind, that he works with Vic Dickens, and he shoots Sam Rhodes, and they have now all two missiles. In the meantime, in the Utah, of course, we see Park Ranger Terry Carmichael. She finds that the witness claims that she saw tons of trucks, driving through the canyon. So because it was not her, she checked it out and she saw the parachute. And Hale now wakes up, with parachute, and says Dickens, and puts his $20. He puts $20 and says you won this round. And then of course Terry shows up with her gun, with she shows up, she shows up with her with her gun. Damn, I wrote down, but I wrote down the gun. I think it was Smith & Wesson model. I think was Smith & Wesson. I think it was Smith & Wesson model, but I wrote it somewhere down. Damn. I know I wrote it down somewhere. Yeah, excuse me, because I'm looking for the gun that Terry was using. I know I wrote it down somewhere. I wrote it somewhere down. It was actually a Smith & Wesson. It was actually a Smith & Wesson. I forgot to wrote it down, but it's actually a Smith & Wesson. I think it was model 50. I'm not sure, but she uses Smith & Wesson. With actually was not 4 barrels. It was actually 6 barrels. And I love the fight scene, because they Terry Carmichael and Riley Hale start fighting each other, and Hale, he kicks her, she falls down, he goes after the gun, he grabs a gun like this, and she like knife, and she says, put it down, so I want to kill you, and he says, and he says, I have the gun, and he kicks her, she kicks his ass, she grabs a gun, and he says, you said you you don't have, the gun's not loaded, and she said, she fires in the air, she says, I lied, and he kicks her, grabs the gun, and he fires her off, which I love that, but of course, he says, I already have a hell of a morning, he gives her a gun back, and he tells her that he's not gonna kill her because he needs her help. He needs her help, so they go to her jeep. And meantime, Dickens and his men, which they finally do have a nuclear. They have a nuclear. They do have the Edge, the 2 nuclear warheads. 2 missiles. And of course, Bob Gunton, who plays Pritchett, is actually the main mastermind, but it's actually Dickens that's main mastermind. Bob Gunton was also Demolition Man. You know, he was also in Demolition Man, and in this movie he plays Mr. Pridgett, who spent a lot of money for this operation, you know. And of course, when John Travolta says, and you get more money if we're successful, and get more money. But I'm not saying if those assholes not gonna pay the money, you know, because this two stolen warheads is actually the ransom for the government, because Dickens wants the ransom the government for $250 million, $250 million, you know. And yeah, and this is the race of time, and I love the beautiful music score, the fight scenes, you know. And now Christian Slater and Samantha Matthews, they go to the jeep, you know, and there's a pilot with automatic weapon, probably M60 weapon. He shows up with helicopter, blows the shit of the truck, you know, of Terry Carmichael's truck. He blows the shit out of it, you know, and of course she gives him a gun, you know, and he fires but misses him. They go in this canyon, in this mountain, you know, and I read it on True IMDb that Hale and Dickens, they never killed face-to-face anyone before. They throw bombs about that, but that's it. But then they wrote when the final scene on the train, you know, when Christian Slater fires and shoots the bad guy, it's not true. They made a mistake, you know, because Hale says only if I could standing still, and she goes Terry, she goes to the pilot like a bait, you know, and he said, I didn't mean it like that. He goes to bait, and he reloads the gun and aims, bang, bang, he shoots him right in the chin, the pilot, and the pilot goes, bang, crashes in the wall, in the fucking mountain. He crashes in the wall. Pure badass explosion, a real fucking explosion, real explosion, you know. It was a real explosion, and almost that was actually done for real. No fucking stunt double, no fucking CGI, no goddamn fucking shaky cam. It was for real. This is my action movie, my movie, my action movie, you know. And I wrote it down, but it's actually a helicopter rotor, or more a helicopter's blade, you know, but more helicopter rotor, you know, from the engine, helicopter's rotor, and almost cut Samantha Matthews' legs for real. It wasn't a fucking fake, it was stand-up, it was for real. No special effects, it was fucking for real. It was done for real. Unlike Jean-Claude Van Damme, fucking stand-up making his stunts, this movie was done for real. You know, and Christian Slater had to catch her because her legs would be crushed to pieces. Almost crushed to pieces, and Christian Slater took her away, and you see a fucking explosions, and I don't see a fucking stunt double when Samantha Matthews and Christian Slater running down the hill, and behind them explosion. That was done for real. The explosion was done for real. This is actually the second explosion in the movie, you know. And of course, Christian Slater says it's okay, and she says no, it's not alright. Why don't you tell me what's going on? You know, he says they were carrying two nuclear warheads, you know, nuclear warheads, weapons on that plane, on that steel plane, you know. And he said, my former commanding officer, you know, he tries to steal them, you know. And that's why he tries to call them, but she says he has trucks, so they go down the canyon, and like a pure badass Hale, you know, out the hill, jumps on a truck. I wrote down the truck, it was actually AIM General Humvee, HMMWV Humvee M1043, you know, 43, which it was actually an army jeep, you know. He jumps on a roof of army jeep, and also Samantha Matthews jumps on army jeep, you know, when they go, you know, because Mr. Preacher was complaining to Dickens, you know, what's gonna do now, you know, what are gonna do now? We're gonna take him to the trucks. The trucks. Oh my God, I love Bob Gunton to death, you know. And they go with the trucks, and that time from the hill, you know, Christian Slater, Samantha Matthews, they both jump on the army jeep on the roof, and and of course Christian Slater says, okay, you can come with me, you know. And then he goes. Then of course he tries to fight off the driver, but Christian Slater, he falls down the roof. You know, he falls down the roof, and then Christian Slater runs. You know, before I continue the action sequence talking. Christian Slater quit smoking and he trained to get in shape for this movie. So Christian Slater runs for real, and John Travolta and Howie Long are driving with the army jeep, you know, and John Travolta says, hit him, and they go after him, try to hit him, you know, and that was for real. That scene was done for real, almost cut Christian Slater's legs, almost, and that was for real. And Christian Slater jumps on army jeep, he jumps in front him, he jumps army jeep, and of course Samantha Man shows him a gun, you know, Smith & Wesson Model 50. He catches the gun, you know, and he jumps on a roof, you know, on a roof of army jeep, and bang, 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 fires, but there's a bulletproof windshield, you know, so John Travolta says, relax, bulletproof windshield, you know. And there's another scene which he grabs a gas tanker, you know, and makes a fire, throws in the fucking windshield, and there's an exploding jeep, you know, army jeep explodes, and John Travolta gets pissed, fuck, it's all explosion, you know, and then he goes with Smith & Wesson the gun, you know, and of course the driver puts, you know, with those two nuclear missiles, you know, on character Michael, because he's in front windshield, and says, I guess we have a Mexican standoff, and Christian Slater fires him in the leg and says, no, we don't, and punches, bam, bam, he punches in the fucking wheel, throws him on the truck, you know, he takes the wheel, they escape, you know, and of course Howie Long drives through the driver, you know, kills the driver, you know, and they go after him, you know, and there's a great scene with Army Jeep Humvee, so great scene with Humvee Army Jeep. This is such a badass action film, in my opinion, you know, and they go, and of course now Hale and Terry, they escape. They both go and they both escape with two nuclear warheads. They go to this abandoned mine shaft, and of course Christian says why they do have new locks, you know, and they break the locks. They go in the mine shaft, and now the nuclear warhead, you know, Hale, he tries to disable it, you know, but he accidentally activates the nuclear warhead because Dickens, he changed, you know, he reprogrammed that circuit board, you know, he reprogrammed it, and now because he has no backup plan, you know, so Hale decides, if the other explodes, the second one will be buried through tons of rocks, you know. So now he can spin, says fuck, he's gonna do it. So he goes after him. There's a fight scene in the mine shaft, you know, with the elevator, the mine shaft, and there's this guy Johnson, played by Vito Ruggins. He was also in Nash Bridges in season 2, I think it was episode 4, you know. Johnson with automatic, with submachine weapon, you know, and with submachine weapon, you know, Beretta Model 12, you know, submachine gun Beretta Model 12, you know, he goes after them, fires, you know, there's a few fight scenes which Terry goes and punches him, kicks him, you know, and of course, and the best thing about this film is that we see John Woo's trademark, you know, Christian Slater with 2 guns, you know, Christian Slater's actually with 2 guns, he goes actually with 2 guns, you know, Christian Slater, he goes with 2 guns, and one of them he has Smith & Wesson, the other one he has, the other one actually he has 6 hour PT226, you know, 9mm, 9x 19mm, you know, 6 hour with 2 guns, you know, he has 2 guns and jumps like a pure badass. He fires on Dickens, you know, Dickens has a Ruger, you know, he wears a Ruger 8C 55 6K, you know. He uses Ruger and fires on Dick, on Hale. Hale with two guns, fires him, bang, 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 you know. Yeah, he fires, you know, he goes and fires with this gun, two guns, you know, he jumps. This is actually the only scene that I saw when a stunt double, but he goes and Christian Slater jumps, bang, 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 like a pure badass, two guns, bang, 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 bang. And also shoots Johnson, grabs his gun, goes after because fire with machine gun, you know, that hit before they hit the wall. And of course, and of course, you know, Dickens, you know, grabs his Ruger, his rifle, and there's a Johnson, you know, with two grenades, and Dickens, you know, hitting Hale. He hits accidentally. He goes and hits Dickens. He actually digs Johnson, and we see two grenades falling down. You know, a grenade falls down from Johnson, and Christian Slater catches the grenade, throws the fucking grenade, and John Travolta jumps. John Travolta, no stand out, he jumps, a real explosions, you know. And of course, I love when he says, "Who the fuck dares, Dick?" You know, and there's a fucking explosion. And of course, he's like he's pissed, you know. And he says, "Maybe you're fucked in the head. Who the fuck cares?" And the guy fucks and says, "The hell," I piss him off. I love that, you know. So now they're both captured in the mine shaft, you know, and they steal the other nuclear missile. They steal the other nuclear warhead. They steal it, you know. Of course, they go and they steal the other nuclear warhead. Yeah, they go and steal the other nuclear warhead, and yeah, so that's actually but Kelly grabs two grenades and and throws them on the elevator. The elevator explodes, and now they both. So now Terry and Hale, they both caught in the mine shaft. In the meantime, the U.S., you know, the U.S. Department, you know, Giles Prentice, you know, played by Frank Whaley, and of course, Secretary of Defense Baird and the other staff, you know, finds out that they aren't actually Broken Arrow, or it was an accident. It was actually a pilot who stole them, you know, and the ex-pilot, you know, he demand a ransom, you know. He goes and demand a ransom of $250 million. It was actually Dickens that stole the nuclear missiles, not Hale, you know. And yeah, and also Kurtwood Smith, he was in RoboCop as Clarence Boddicker. He was Bob Griggs in Rambo 3, my favorite action film for all time. He was also General Cooper in Under Siege 2, and he was in this movie Secretary of Defense Baird. And I prefer this movie, you know. In 1996 we got that film Independence Day. I rather watch this film than Independence Day. It's a good movie. This is better. Broken Arrow is better action movie than 1996 in my opinion, you know. But yeah, so I love when Giles says the honesty is the best policy, you know, and I love when Secretary of Defense Baird says, "How did you get this job? Honestly, how did you get this job?" It was, you know, Giles says, "I really scare you," and Giles says, "Oh, sir, sometimes I'm really scared myself too." And Giles Prentice, you know, who tries to hand those missiles down, you know. And now Hale and Terry Carmichael, they find through the river. They go to the river and they escape, you know. And there's an explosion, a really scary explosion, you know. With this weapon, you know, with this nuclear weapon. It was actually a real explosion, you know. It was a nuclear weapon, you know, a real explosion. And this is that's only a taste. There's still one nuclear warhead in transmission, you know. And while Kelly and Dickens and Mr. Pritchett, you know, Mr. Pritchett, they're driving, you know, and an FBI helicopter with two FBI agents as a pilot catches them, you know. They tell them that they stop, and this guy, and of course, Mr. Preacher said, you don't know what's going on. You lost your head. You lost. And I love when John Travolta grabs the lamb and punches. Whoosh, he punches him right in the neck and says, hush, hush. And he completely kills him off, And he stops the car, and I love that Kelly doesn't even complain. He's quiet, grabs his Heckler & Koch automatic machine gun, weapon, and he wants to shoot the FBI helicopter, and of course, John Travolta says, and turns off the electric equipment. And when there's a radiation explosion, there's MP, electromagnetic pulse, shock wave, and blast, and completely destroys the helicopter. And it's like the second helicopter, the third explosion, actually fourth explosion, completely destroys the helicopter, MP, electromagnetic pulse, electromagnetic pulse shockwave, which completely destroys, shuts down all electronic equipment. And that's the reason why the helicopter from the FBI agents crashed and blew to pieces, Great practical explosion, great effect. John Woo was master of action movies. He know how to do an action movie, And this is actually 25th anniversary review. But man, love this movie to death. This is my movie, my fucking movie, my movie. This is how you do an action movie. They don't do action movies like Broken Arrow. This is never gonna be. It's a fucking underrated action movie for all time, And so now Hale and Samantha Matthews, they showed up to this river, and they go on this boat, and she says, we're gonna sink it, well, steal it. And she's that's so great. But Hale, he jumps in the water. He jumps in the water. They go now through the river with the boat, and they found later Hale. They found later Hale, and he tells Rhodes that actually, John Travolta, Dickens, he's doing a rope-a-dope. And of course, Willis goes, a rope-a-dope, Muhammad Ali and George Foreman finds the year 1972, and he's like fists, he's bluffing, he's going west, he's going east, and he's going to Denver with the train, the train sequence. And now, before I talk about train sequence, the final stunt, according to Train magazine, the train chase scene was actually filmed on the short line Central Montana Rail. It wasn't in Utah. It wasn't in Utah or Colorado. It was actually filmed in Montana, in Central Montana Rail. It's not in Utah or Colorado. There's no real rail company called National Regional, so they filmed in Montana, and it wasn't filmed in studio. They went from the filming locations, it wasn't filmed in studio. And that's what happened, the train sequences, so that was the train sequence. So on the train, which they're now moving the nuclear warhead, because the nuclear warhead is going to it's actually traveling to Denver, and in Denver, he's going to John Travolta, his men, they put the antenna and through the remote control, he's going to detonate. He can detonate the bomb, the US missiles, the bomb. And now Colonel Lucas says, I have a order to bring you back, which I'm gonna break the order, and they go with the helicopter. After Dickens, and on the train, there's actually Terry Carmichael, she climbs on the train, and she sees the nuclear weapon. And there's this guy, Max, plays Sean Town. I love the guy to death, Max. And she tries to punch him and says, I'm Max. And he punches her, throws her away. I bet you thought I'm a computer nerd. Wrong, lady. I was a SEAL. I was a Navy SEAL. You should see what I do by the time. I love that. We get the truth. I'm Max. You thought I'm actually a computer nerd, didn't you? Wrong. I was a still lady, you should do what I do in my time. You know, if you grabs the gun and she grabs his hammer, throws the sledgehammer right in the fucking head, bang, and he falls down, falls dead. Pure badass action sequence ever. You know, and he goes there, and of course, so yeah, so that happened, you know, pure badass in my opinion, and of course she's been then captured by John Travolta, you know, with his Beretta 93 Air, you know, with his Beretta 93 Air, you know, and he decides now go and activate the bomb. She does, but instead enter, she clicks decline. And she says, you know, why don't you do it yourself, asshole? And she goes, tries to, and they go out. He tries to throw her out of the train. But then we see Christian Slater as Hale with his pure badass automatic weapon. And I wrote it down, you know, M727 rifle with M203 grenade launcher, and fires. He fires and he fires at him, you know, while of course Kelly and Hale, they both fire. They go Dickens and Kelly, they fire with their weapons, you know. Like John Travolta uses Beretta 93 Air, you know, on the train, and Kelly uses Heckler and Koch automatic weapon, you know. He uses Heckler and Koch automatic weapon. Yeah, he uses Heckler and Koch automatic weapon, and during the attack on Dickens' train, you know, Christian Slater with M727 rifle, you know, he also hits John Travolta, and he closed the door, and then that scene with the wound disappears. And this is the explanation why, because the studio forced to record the scene, so the scene that they don't see that he put something on his wound, you know, or that the wound magically disappears because the re-edit shots, you know. It was probably related to the material. That's the reason why some people think it's unbelievable, you know. So now Hale, he jumps on a train, you know. He jumps on a train, and there's like two terrorists fire on Samantha Matthews, Christian Slater, but they hit the antenna. And one of the bad guys, you know, he gets caught, you know. One of the terrorists, you know, Max. One of the terrorists, you know, Max Wilkins, he goes and fires the bad guy and shoots him, you know, saves Samantha Matthews and Christian Slater. And Adam says, let's get him a haircut with helicopter, you know, with a helicopter rotor blade, and gets a blade haircut, you know. He gets killed with a fucking blade, you know. And one of the terrorists says, freeze, with automatic weapon, you know, and Christian Slater puts the gun down, jumps on a fucking floor, grabs the gun behind Samantha Matthews' butt, you know, grabs the gun, bang, bang, shoots him, bang, 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 shoots him between her legs, and the guy falls down and says, wow. And says, yeah, it was first time for me too. What a pure badass, what a rush, what a pure badass action sequence, in my opinion, you know. And now there's only two, you know, and there's another scene I forgot to mention, important scene. So Christian Slater, he goes on the helicopter, and he cuts the gas line power, you know. He goes and cuts the gas line power, which the gas line, you know. He cuts the gas line, and of course he cuts yeah, and of course the gas spitting on the floor, you know. Gas is actually spitting on the floor. He goes and cuts the gas line, you know, in the helicopter. He grabs helicopter, which gas is actually spitting on the floor, you know. Gas is actually spitting on the floor, And when the pilot, he goes in the helicopter, starts the helicopter, and Dickens, he sees guys spitting on the floor and says, cut the power, and the helicopter, huh? And he starts the engine, boom, explodes the helicopter, helicopter explodes. Yeah, it explodes. Helicopter fucking explodes, and kills two bad guys. One of the bad guys run, that's actually a stand-up for John Travolta, but runs, and when the train's moving, and of course I forgot another scene. How could I forget another important scene? Carly fires with his Hecklenkock weapon, and of course he hits in the tunnel, and almost kills himself. He caught himself, but he hits Sam Wilkins, Max Wilkins, and kills Max Wilkins. And the pilot crashes in the wall. The helicopter, the fourth explosion. It's actually the third helicopter explosion. The fourth explosion, that's my favorite scene when John Travolta says, cut the power, and completely, and the pilot starts the engine, explodes to pieces, and kills another of the bad guys, flies, and the stunt double escapes. That was for real, no special effects, real, it was for real, And one of the terrorists with shotgun, Mauser, with a shotgun, with a shotgun, Mossberg 590, he aims on Hale, and he aims on Hale and Terry, and Hale kicks the rotor of the helicopter, and kicks his weapon away and grabs it. They both fall each other down, and we see Christian Slater cutting himself on the rail track, under the train. That was for real. Christian Slater did that for real. That was for real. It was for real. Hale Riley Hale is my favorite action hero of all time. He's my favorite hero. And finally, I'll probably get that movie. How you call it, Cuffs. I hope I'll get over the summer Cuffs, which Germany is gonna do now a release of that film. So I hope I do get Cuffs for Christian Slater, because I'm a huge fan of Christian Slater. But man, this movie is a pure badass action film of all time. It's my favorite hero, my favorite action hero. Yeah. So now, Hale. And Hale grabs Samantha Matthews, he saves her. They go now they go and they escape, and now they split. She goes on the locomotive side to stop the train, while Hale, he says, I'll be back. He says, you promise? He says, I promise. He goes now on the roof, and of course now John Travolta's pissed and says, fucking, can they take a joke? And he activates automatic nuclear weapon, and of course Kelly says, stop, I'm not gonna die for you. And I love that. I love how he longed to death. I won't die, I'm gonna die for you, And I love when Christian Slater grabs a rope, ties it around it. He swings with the rope, like a martial arts kick. He kicks Kelly in the stomach, and he falls off the bridge and gets killed, And and also he grabs another body falls down, And of course John Travolta says, Hale, and they both start firing, with Kelly fires with Mousberg, with his automatic weapon, while John Travolta, grabs this guy and fires at him. He fires. They fire, and Christian says, incoming. He goes with the rope, swings with the rope, and kicks Kelly. Kicks Kelly in the body, and Kelly falls down off the train under the bridge and gets killed. He's dead. He gets killed. And so. That then happens, the next, now, of course, John Travolta grabs his Beretta 93 Air, and he starts firing on Christian Slater. Christian Slater with shotgun, bang, bang, jumps, bang, love the scene, fight scene with shotgun, bang, bang. He shoots to pieces Dick is out of bullets, and he tells him, give me the remote control and I'll give you $20 you can get it, you know. And of course Christian Slater says, you're out of mind, Dick. Yeah, ain't it cool? I'm gonna still kick your ass and go fight each other, you know. And on the end, no stunt doubles, you know. Christian Slater and John Travolta trained with former boxing champ Carlos Palomino, so the fight scene was realistic. And Christian Slater goes, kicks Dick's ass, feel anything like this, kicks his ass, uses his martial arts, kicks his fucking ass, you know. And he grabs a remote control, you know, and he makes a spin kick, turns the nuclear weapon out, you know. The train goes off the train explodes, and the missiles goes and hits John Travolta. Of course, was actually a dummy, but it was for real. Hits John Travolta, gets killed, you know. And and now, of course, the nuclear weapon is deactivated and it's safe, you know. Christian Slater says, I won. He finds $20 and said, I won, you know. And also, meantime, Samantha Matthews blows the train to pieces, you know, shoots on the bad guys. In like 1 hour, 17 minutes, in 1 hour, I wrote it down. At 1 hour 70 minutes into the movie, and again at 1 hour 23 minutes, there's no standout special effects, you know, because we see Samantha Matthews, no stand double. She did for real. She jumped off the plane, off the train, which train exploded. You see all the fire around her. That was for real. That was done for real. No special effects, no CGI, no shaky cam, no stand double for Samantha Matthews. She did it for real, you know. And Christian Slater, you know, she did it for real. And then she goes to her and says, Captain, you're still on arrest. They take me in, you know. And they don't kiss, but they don't kiss, you know. But I love that. The movie freaking ends with a beautiful music score, you know. And Christian Slater, he did his own stunts, you know. The fight was great choreographed, great martial arts choreographed. You know, in open scene, they sparring, they fighting each other in the boxing tournament. You know, they're just sparring. And I love when Christian Slater says, "Oh, I was always a fan of Bruce Lee." He tries to use one of his martial arts. You know, I love that. And Samantha Matthews, she went to her friend Sandra Bullock, because Sandra Bullock, she did Demolition Man and she did Speed. And she asked her for her advice, and Sandra Bullock gave her advice that she should just harm James Bond team before the outtakes, you know. So that was great, you know. She asked her friend Sandra Bullock for help, you know, for advice, which was great, you know. Yeah, the budget was $50 million worldwide. $150 million. The armorer estimate over 60 million, I don't know if it's really, but 60 million rounds of ammo were fired while making the film, you know, which is possible. It's possible that they fired they fired a lot. A lot of ammo, you know. I mean, why Terminator 2 Judgment Day get such a praise? Why not this movie? What's wrong with this movie, you know? It has tons of action, tons of explosions, the weapons are used well, you know. Even a few, you know, there actually even few, you know, this is my film, but there actually even a few weapons used, you know. They are like automatic weapons, you know, with grenade launcher. They're used shotguns, handguns, you know, hand-to-hand combat explosions. Like I counted 4 explosions of helicopter, you know. The fight scene, my favorite scene is when helicopter explodes, when Christian Slater corrupts the helicopter on the train, you know, corrupts the helicopter train, you know, and the gas is now spitting on the floor, and he sees the line cut, you know. Dickens says, cut the power, cut the power. The pilot gets that look, and he starts the engine, and the helicopter blows to pieces, explodes the chopper. That's my personal favorite scene in the movie. Yes. The other favorite scene is when Christian Slater grabs a shotgun from Kelly and jumps like a pure badass he is, and fires on Dickens. Bang, bang, bang. Like a pure badass he is. And yeah, this is my movie, my personal favorite action movie for all time. This is actually the still fighter bomber, The model was designed by two, but in the movie is B3, which they carry those nukes. And this is actually an action war movie. Aliens, in my opinion, is more a war, is more a sci-fi war action movie. Broken Arrow is an action war movie, just like Rambo First Part 2, Just like Rambo 3, Rambo 2008, or more Rambo 4, My favorite movie, or First Blood, yeah, like I said, Rambo First Part 2 is my number one, this is my number two. This is actually my second favorite action movie for all time, Broken Arrow. So much I love this movie, I love this movie special to that. And I'm almost 1 hour 55 minutes that I talk about this movie so much, and yeah, I think I said almost everything that I have to say. Harvey Long supposed to be killed earlier, but because Teddy Cantu Fox loved his performance, so he stayed through the whole movie until the end. And some people are like hating Harvey Long for his performance. I enjoy Harvey Long, Hale, John Woo wanted that Hale dies during the middle of the movie, but I'm glad he didn't, because Riley Hale is actually my favorite action hero, my favorite hero. He says, on the end, they both name each other. My name is Riley Hale, and she says Terry Carmichael, or she says she has a dog, Fred. And Samantha Matthews' best performance by John Travolta, best performance by Christian Slater, best performance by Samantha Matthews, best direction by John Woo, and what's more, I think the cast, the music score was perfect, the action sequences, like 4 explosions, or the dangerous stunt, another scene when Christian Slater grabs a gun, aims and fires and kills, he goes and kills, shoots right in the neck with 2 barrels, shoots right in the neck, the pilot, an explosion, the helicopter rotor, blade, but more helicopter rotor almost cut Samantha Matthews' legs, and Christian Slater had to pull her off, in time. That was done for real. That was for real. Almost crushed Samantha Matthews' legs, almost, And when they ran down the hill, when the explosion, I don't see stunt doubles. They were done for real. The stunts in this movie were more dangerous than in Terminator 2 Judgment Day or in License to Kill. There are actually more dangerous stunts in this movie. John Travolta was a perfect choice to direct this movie. My personal favorite movie of all time. They hit 25th anniversary, and I love this movie today. I'm always gonna watch this film. Sue me, I love Broken Arrow. I love this movie to death. I do have this movie in Blu-ray. I don't have the DVD. But I love this movie to death. This is my movie. My action movie, And I want to talk more about Broken Arrow than Terminator 2 Judgment Day or License to Kill. I want to talk more about Broken Arrow, I want to talk more about GoldenEye. This movie, Die Hard, Die Hard of Vengeance. Hard Boiled. I want to talk more about those 90s action movies, Or this is an 80s action movie. Or I want to talk more about Rambo First Part 2, I'm still waiting for the poster because I love the movie so much, but I'll get it, eventually. But Broken Arrow, you can't go wrong because it's my favorite action movie. I really do love this movie, huge fan. I love the film locations, the not only the cast, but I love the army jeep, the army jeeps that they use. Humvee, I wrote it down, Yeah, I found that Smith & Wesson Model 66. It wasn't 50. Smith & Wesson Model 66. But like I said, I do love. I do love that army jeep. But I can't find it. Um, the Jeep, I do love I do love the Jeep Humvee M10 43, 43 Army Jeep, um, General HMVV, M10 43, which was later also used in Face Off. But I love the Army Jeeps. I love the Army Jeeps in this movie. I love the helicopters, the stealth fighter, the beautiful music score by Hans Zimmer, the tons of action, explosion, I mean, Broken Arrow, such a pure badass, epic, phenomenal, pure badass action movie, underrated as hell. One of the most underrated action movies ever. My favorite 90s action movie ever. My favorite John Woo movie of all time. I mean, I love this movie, crap to death. This is actually the 25th anniversary review, which I'm gonna, in case if I delay this account, of course I'm gonna save this video. Some important videos, so of course I'll save and I will upload them again. But yeah, that's actually my movie review, 25th anniversary movie review. And if you want to watch a short review, I already did a review last year, so I'll give you my link for the short review in case if you want to see a short review, because this is actually 25th anniversary review, which is like almost 1 hour 10 minutes long review. You know what? Broken Arrow deserves it and explains why it's my favorite action movie of all time. It explains why it's actually my favorite action movie of all time. Why I just love this movie so much. I mean, I put this movie above GoldenEye, and GoldenEye's number 4 is actually above because I love this movie so much. But I more wanna talk about more Rambo First Part 2, Broken Arrow, Die Hard The Vengeance, Hard Boiled, Predator 2, definitely want to talk more about it. The Killer, I would have said Broken Arrow, The Killer, Hard Boiled. I'm planning to do Little Weapon movies, reviews someday. Kind of love for Little Weapon movies, but yeah. But that's my movie review on 25th anniversary. Happy 25th anniversary on Broken Arrow. If you make it that long, thanks so much for watching that long. Thanks for subscribing. Everyone, I wish a good day. And I'll talk to you next time. So take care, and I'm out. I'll see you later. Ciao.